Hello, this is the 209th edition of Catch of the Day, available on the Branch Talk YouTube channel. Today we're going to continue reading from a book written by Douglas Mitchell, entitled The Four Carpenters, the Ensign, the Time of Jacob's Trouble, and the First Deliverance. Starting at the top of page 48, we read, Upon a close examination of Zechariah 4:10, there is more to the text than that aspect. It is not that Brother Hoddeth is necessarily wrong in what he said, but it's that the fullness of the meaning of the verse is much broader and even more definitive than what he said, to wit, who hath despised the day of small things? For they shall rejoice and shall see the plummet in the hand of Zerubbabel with those 7. They are the eyes of the Lord, which run to and fro through the whole earth. Zechariah 4, verse 10. While Brother Hoddeth's comments on this verse are focused primarily on Zerubbabel and the identity of the antitypical Zerubbabel and his work, according to this verse, the main thing that is to cause the saints to rejoice is knowing that the plummet is in the hand of Zerubbabel, understanding what that means, and that those 7 are the eyes of the Lord. As those things are specifically addressed in our study, the return of the Shekinah, the 7 thunders, we refer the reader to that study. What we are pointing out here is that what Brother Hoddeth said about Zerubbabel being the founders of the antitype who laid the foundation in 1844, and about his being the antitypical Zerubbabel are both correct in the larger context of how Zerubbabel relates to the Lord's feet, as we shall see. Our looking at the Lord's feet, standing on Mount Olives, began with understanding that the feet generally symbolized prophets, and progressed into how the symbol relates to the messages the prophets bring by their hands. To bring the matter into sharper focus, we need to look at what is meant by the Lord's feet standing on the Mount of Olives, which, if the Lord's feet are symbolic, must also be symbolic. We will address this aspect later. The key to understanding this and how those things directly relate to the 4 carpenters and their work, we need to look at the events that lead up to and take place at the miraculous deliverance. Jeremiah 30, verse 10. Therefore fear thou not, O my servant Jacob, saith the Lord, neither be dismayed, O Israel. For lo, I will save thee from afar, and thy seed from the land of their captivity. And Jacob shall return, and shall be in rest, and be quiet, and none shall make him afraid. Jacob should not fear, because he shall be saved out of his trouble. God is going to deliver him by a miracle. If it were not a fearfully troublous time, they would not need to be told to fear not, nor be dismayed. It is to be a terrible time of trouble just before Jacob is delivered. Certainly, then, the statement that there is a silver lining behind every cloud is true in this case. Jeremiah 30, verse 11 to 13. For I am with thee, saith the Lord, to save thee. Though I make a full end of all nations whither I have scattered thee, yet will I not make a full end of thee. But I will correct thee in measure, and will not leave thee altogether unpunished. For thus saith the Lord, thy bruise is incurable, and thy wound is grievous. There is none to plead thy cause, that thou mayest be bound up. Thou hast no healing medicines. God's people are to receive punishment, but it is only going to be in measure. The incurable bruise and grievous wound is the kingdom lost. Though the bruise is incurable, yet they are to be delivered. Only a miracle can heal an incurable bruise. Just before God's people are delivered, they will be painfully aware that there is no possible way for them to be delivered, but a miracle is to take place. Then all will know that God alone wrought their deliverance. 13 Symbolic Code 1, 2, 12, 13. The trouble spoken of in those verses is the time of Jacob's trouble, verse 7, which is brought upon him by the Assyrian. As the Assyrian is the last Gentile power to control the land, and flees from there so that the saints may return there, then what happens to the Assyrian must take place at the time when the deliverance by a miracle occurs, because there is to be only one time when the Assyrian is to be beaten down by the voice of the Lord, flees from the Lord's sword, flees in fear from the ensign, and is frayed by the 4 carpenters because of the anointing. For all of those things have the same end result, the end of the times of the Gentiles. Take care.